Whoa, this view is amazing. Yeah, I have to capture this somehow. Oh, that'll do. I'm using 18 gauge copper wire, a bit of speaker wire, jewelry wire, and then some simple tools like these pliers and a wire cutter. Oh, and yes, you have to be very careful with that glass. All right, let's start with the base. The rim is 6 strands of the 18 gauge wire twisted together and then wrapped loosely around the bottle. Just make sure you have a little give in there. You'll need that in a minute. I'll show you what that looks like. Then make a kind of mesh floor using the speaker wire. Now I'm wrapping it in 2 directions. The trick is to anchor the wire in place as you go with an occasional tight wrap before you move on to the entire floor. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Also spread the wires out as you go and then you'll need less wire. The vertical supports will be attachment points, and I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. They're just 4 strands of the 18 gauge wire, attaching them to the corners of the base, and then I'll be using this same kind of wrapping technique where you wrap half the wires in one direction and half in the other throughout this entire piece, and I'll just show you multiple times as we go. And then just crimp those wires with pliers to make sure they stay in place. I also added a ring at the top to hold the vertical supports mostly in place. Okay, to start wrapping, I twist one end of a length of my 2-strand wire at a vertical post. Again, this is the same half the wires over, half the wires under method, and then I'll show you that multiple times. Originally, I thought I would need to hold it all in place with this jewelry wire, but that just turned out to be a lot of useless and very tedious work. So for now, I'm just going to kind of keep them there in case I need them. But luckily it turned out I could just cut them out and it was fine. I also thought I was going to have just barely enough wire, so I tried joining the ends together. But you know how you always wondered when you would use that high school math? Well, here you go. To figure out how much wire you're going to need, you measure the diameter of the bottle, the thickness of the wire, and the height of the bottle. Then you get your high schooler to figure it all out for you. Now, luckily my arithmetic was off and I had way more wire than I needed. So that meant I could go back to my original plan of joining each new strand at a vertical post and then just start wrapping from there. This also helps because if you're not careful, those vertical posts can move out of place, and this kind of helps you keep track of that as you go. Now this part did take a while, but it was just nice to zone out for a bit. Now remember to gently push all the wires together as you go. Now for this piece, I'm going to build up a little bit more than halfway before I start the rock area. All right, now that I know about where I want to cut the bottle, I'm marking with some masking tape. If you're cutting glass, you absolutely, positively need an N95 mask or a respirator. You'll also need gloves and goggles. You will, without a doubt, get little pieces of glass flying at you, so you also might want a face shield. I'm using my Dremel and a diamond cutoff wheel, so the trick is to keep the glass wet so it stays cool and it doesn't crack. And then just be patient and go slowly. I've sped this whole thing up 400 times because it just took a while. When you're done cutting, that edge will be jagged, so I'm moving to a quick couple of passes with a sanding wheel. That's all you really need, nothing special. Now, if you don't like this whole idea of cutting glass, you can always use a plastic bottle, and that is perfectly fine too. Now, if you had any doubts about glass-filled water vapor and needing a respirator, just take a look at that residue on the glass. That will get in your lungs. I thought it would kind of be cool to add a kind of second level to the layers. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's not bad so much as I just don't know how much I like it. Either way, it's just back and forth, opening a twist so that you can make a loop that one of those vertical posts can kind of poke through, and then you can crimp it and anchor it in place. When I was done with that, I was able to move on to that rock area. Now, these are just shorter lengths anchored in place with that same one wire over, one wire under kind of twist. And then just do what you feel, you know, just kind of give it some odd shapes and some kind of crazy twists, and it will kind of build itself. I'm capping the whole thing with 4 2-strand twists curved into a flat circle. Now, I did find a use for that jewelry wire, and that is to hold these all into place as I kind of curve them. And then it's held into place on the top of the vase by poking those vertical posts through and then crimping wires over, wires under, and I'll show you the final piece in a minute. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you had a relaxing time with this video. I just had a great time zoning out and enjoying the process of making some art for a few hours. Now, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you'll know what I mean when I say that no image or video or piece of art could ever do it justice. But I'm really happy with what came out of that inspiration. Now, if you like this video, please consider subscribing, maybe tell a couple of friends, but also leave your comments and let me know what you have to say. Anyway, without further ado, here's the finished piece.